Hello beautiful people and welcome. Today we will be going over all the different ways for you to detail your beautiful creations in City Skylines 2. Again, as for every other tutorial we've done so far, you will have to have developer mode activated in order to follow along. This tool will give you a lot more options and ways to interact with the game. It really does only take a minute to enable it, and that is with reading the article that I'll link down in the description right below the like and subscribe button. By the time that we are done, I will teach you how to create this beautiful park in some pretty simple steps that everyone can follow along. Here you can see a test city that I've created for this tutorial, and we will turn this rather boring and soulless tile around our city hall into a beautiful park that really looks like it fits in, I would say. We will be opening the prefab tool that comes with the developer options. For this, please press the home button on your keyboard. Let's start by searching for the grass surface in the prefab tool list. Once we found it, we can now hover over the texture that's beneath our city hall and use it just like the other area tools in the game. You can click on existing nodes that are highlighted as dots or click anywhere along the lines of the area to create new nodes. We will drag the texture out to fill out the whole area of our block. Once that is done, we can now start to put in our paths and guidelines to have a general idea of what we want to create in the end. So you can experiment here, and mind you guys, only your imagination and your creativity is the limit. I end up going for a nice few paths that are all converging into a central area that is filled with beautiful vegetation that really brings the whole area to life. Zone snapping can be a huge pain during this step, so I generally disable snapping to zoning cell length and snapping to zoning grid. One quick tip that I can give you guys here is that whenever you are in a building tool, whichever one it might be, the path tool or the road tool or any which one, you can always press B on your keyboard to go into the bulldoze mode in case that you need like another perspective, in case that you want to get rid of something that you have put down. And then when you press B again, you can go back to the original tool that you were at, and it will even continue where you left off. Quick disclaimer here, it is very easily possible to absolutely get lost in the sauce here while trying to make everything look perfect. It is not the easiest thing to accomplish, so try to not pull a lazo here and get stuck redrawing literally the same thing over and over and over again while trying to make it look perfect. Now that we have our base layout drawn out, let's add a fountain that will be the main focus of our central park. You could do this in many different ways, but what I end up doing here is placing my thumb over the screen where the middle of my guidelines is converging, since you can't put these assets on top of your streets or on top of your path, so it's pretty hard to find the absolute middle. I lost way too much time trying to make this inner circle around the fountain perfect. I would love to give you guys a more comprehensive guide here, but my biggest tip here is that the continuous tool really is your best friend, and you should really learn how to use it properly. It will help you to create quarter and half circles with ease. The first click after starting your first street will determine the original length, and then you can drag it around to place quarter circles or even half circles that are all perfect 90 degrees everywhere. Sadly, the assets in the game currently don't have their outlines laid out perfectly, so you will sometimes see where there's supposed to be a circle underneath could be an unrefined invisible edge of the asset, which is why you sometimes end up having it conflict with what you're trying to do, even though it looks like it should work just fine. After we have that done, we can now start planting our trees. A few things that you need to know about the line tool. You can activate it by pressing Ctrl L on your keyboard after you have selected the unit that you want to place. Now we will be demonstrating this with some vegetation and benches as assets today, but it can really be any single placeable object in the game that you can find from the prefab tool list. Select the straight line option, pick your spacing, rotation, and other options to your liking. I suggest toying around with these options until you find something that you like. By holding down the shift key on your keyboard, you can continue your line from where your previous one left off. This can be very useful to navigate and fill out tight corners. If you want to place a single grown tree, you can also start your line and end it right after the first tree. This will give you a full grown tree that might fill a spot that you otherwise couldn't fill with the line tool itself. Let's now change our attention to the main character of our show, the fountain in the middle of our little plaza. I wanted to achieve a few things here. One was making sure that the vegetation closest to our fountain is not taking away too much attention from it and that it's not towering over it. So I went with some smaller bushes that will fill out the space but not really interrupt the beautiful sight you will have walking up to it. When you select the circle option as well as the fence mode, the assets will be placed right next to each other, which gives you this beautiful effect. One more tip here, don't get fooled by some of the assets that you are trying to place not showing up in the preview correctly. The preview is sadly not always perfect, so I would suggest giving it a try and seeing what happens when you place it, even if you don't have them showing up when you're trying to place them. Now it's time to pick the rest of the assets that we want to place, and I went with this type of bench. And again, after you select the asset that you want to place, press Ctrl L on your keyboard to initiate the line tool. This will now be a bit tricky because you will have to play a little bit with the rotation of the asset to make it look just right. I found that 270 degrees works very well with most of the assets, as it seems that they are all rotated by -90 degrees by default, but your results may vary. The light preview is your best friend here, and make sure that you don't let the quest for perfection ruin your day here. You can also place these without the line tool to make aligning and rotating a little easier to adapt to the situation at hand. For this build in particular, I went with the philosophy that less is more and decided to just place some more trash bins and call it a day basically. And just like that, we've transformed this very boring and dull area into something special, something that is standing out. Not to brag too much, but I think that it really looks like a park that you might actually see in real life in some random European city. And if you made it this far, I want to say thank you for your time, and I really hope that this helps you guys out. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!